again to the new year, the new you, the same Real Collective podcast. I am Brendan McKeigan. With me, as always, is Sean Tasse. Sean, Happy New Year.
Bonne année, as they say in French, Brendan.
Welcome. That's right.
Season number 6, episode number 1. Wow. What a whirlwind it has been this last year in real estate in Ottawa.
That's right. Bonne année.
Nice pineapple.
Happy pineapple. Yeah, man. Yeah, we did it. We did the year. We did the thing. We made some things happen in December, which is nice. And we're ever evolving. And even as we record this on the 5th of January, I know we're not supposed to mention dates, but I say that because of what's happened since Christmas. Just a lot of things, which we'll get into on another episode. But that's what's happening. It's evolving. So we thought today we would maybe start with a bit of a year in review. We're going to show you the top 10 bloopers of realtors. No, we're not. It's what every sports channel does. They're just like, I'm going to be off for the week, so just put the blooper clips together.
You know what? I think we do have some blooper clips coming. I asked Kelsey, who does, for all of you who don't know, Kelsey does all of our videos for us, or most of them anyways. And I've asked her to put together the blooper reel. So that's always an exciting piece, I think, for people. So keep your eyes peeled. If you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that when that blooper reel does launch, you can see it right away, and make sure to either put your headphones on or get your kids out of the rooms, because it is likely NSFW.
More than likely. Sometimes we swear because we're adults. All right. Well, let's get into it. The year started off on what we thought was going to be another not so year for people to not be able to get into anything, or just sell their home for a super high price and then buy a home for a super high price. And it seemed like that wasn't slowing down. And all of a sudden, it seems like everyone went, nah.
It's almost like a tale of two markets. You know, like the first half of the year was one sort of market, and the second half of the year was a completely different sort of market. You know, we track these numbers pretty closely, and we'd sort of hit a peak by March, April, in 2022, where it was just like, this is nuts, right? I remember even at the beginning of the year last year, on an episode of this podcast, we were talking about, hey, we bought a townhouse, and the price we paid for the townhouse, you'd never be able to buy another townhouse for that price in Orleans. And now you're like, if you're paying that, you're overpaying, right? So what a difference a year makes. In broad strokes, we sort of, the first half of the year, like you said, was crazy nuts, just, you know, fury of bidding wars. And the second half of the year was a lot slower. So prices essentially dropped from the peak of the market down to the bottom of the market, about $200,000, the average price. The average days on market went from, 2 weeks to almost 4 months. So that's an 8x length of time that properties are spending on the market, and a reduction of about 25% in terms of the average sale price, and a reduction of about 25% in the whole year of 2022 versus 2021, a reduction of 25% of number of transactions. So we sold a lot less houses in 2022. And I think a real big factor was the interest rate creep, right? They kept going up and they kept going up, and then houses became less and less affordable to buyers, right? And so house prices came down at rates that I don't think that people who have been in this business for 40 years had ever seen. The speed at which these prices came down. I mean, they went up, but they didn't go up as quickly as they came down, it seems. And when we look at the graphs and charts, we can see like a really clear distinction of, how it ramped up slow and how it sort of fell off a cliff. So it's been interesting to try and navigate that, as professionals, and then give advice to our clients about it. no less, and we're trying to get as much information as we can for as many different places as we can. And all of these different professionals we're talking to, they said, I've never seen this before. I've been in the business for, X number of years, and this is all new. So it's been very interesting to go through this process. Somewhere on this shelf, there's a book called Shift. There it is. Just off screen here. There's a book called Shift, and that has been really helpful in going through that and reading. It talks about shifting real estate markets, which is exactly what we're in, and how to position your property when you're putting it for sale. How many P's are in that sentence? And if you're a buyer, how to take advantage of it. So it's been a real interesting year.
Yeah. And it did seem to change very quickly. I don't know about you, but I almost have a sense of relief about it. As on, I think both sides, from the professional standpoint of things. I think obviously it was easy in bidding wars to be like, okay, stick a sign in the yard and let's wait a week. And then, obviously there's more to it and blah, blah, blah. But really, a lot of these homes were just put a sign in it, put it at a price, wait for offer day. Here's your highest one. There you go. Now it's a little bit more balanced, and I kind of prefer it because I kind of, a lot of times when I'm helping a seller, they're also going to have to buy something else. So it makes it a little bit more fair. It lets them be a little bit more picky on a house. They don't have to settle as much. And just knowing that you're not in multiple offers, I think gives people a lot more what's the word I'm looking for? Control, I guess, over what they want to do. And peace of mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just you can write in a home inspection clause now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say you're not always going to be in multiple offers. I think the difference is the frequency, right? I'd say at the peak of the market, we were probably looking about 90% of the places that we're selling would be in multiple offers. And now it might be 10%. It's not that it doesn't happen. Properties that are positioned well and are good properties overall will still get multiple offers, or can still get multiple offers. I had a client reach out earlier this week, and she's like, oh, hey, we want to go and see a house. We can't see it this weekend. Maybe can we go and see it next weekend? Sure. Okay. Scheduled the showing. And then, 2 days later, I get 3 text messages saying, hey, we've got 4 offers on this property. Okay. Well, yeah. We're not in a position to be ready. That's the other thing I'm noticing now. And I don't want to, I think in the second half, we can talk a little bit about what to expect moving forward, but a lot of people seem to have be coming out of the woodwork a little bit, where they say, okay, it's a new year. I've got a plan. I want to buy a house. The prices are low. I did this on a short recently, and if you're not watching the shorts and you're just watching the podcast, essentially the idea is if the same house at the peak of the market was a $700,000 house and now it's a $500,000 house, your payments will be about the same because the interest rates obviously are higher. But the main difference is your down payment can be a lot less, right? You can just get away with your 5% down on a $500,000 house, so about $25,000, but you had to pay a much higher down. With a $700,000 house, you'd have to pay $45,000 down. And some people have a hard, when I bought my first house, I had a hard time trying to save up $20,000, right? Between the two of us. And I don't know how we would be able to, while we were renting, save up enough money to put $45,000 down on a $700,000 house. So, getting on the property ladder as it's lower, even though the rates are higher, is going to be a great thing. So I think a lot of first-time home buyers who sort of, like you said, for the second half of the year say, yeah, you know what, I'm out. I don't want to do this. I think a lot of the savvy ones are going to be looking up and saying, okay, you know what, it's now or never. The main driver that has been pushing prices for the last 5 years has been a lack of supply, right? A lack of inventory. And that was just magnified by the pandemic. right? And the super low interest rates. And that's what's created that perfect storm. Well, the interest rates aren't super low anymore. The pandemic is over? Question mark.
Yeah, it's done. You didn't hear?
Yeah. For those of us who got children, we know better. But for the rest of the world, it's over. Yeah, my point is the interest rates will maybe rise a little bit more, but then likely level off. But we still haven't solved the issue of not having enough inventory. And I know that they've said, hey, we're going to build more homes faster. I worry that that's going to create not great quality homes. We just slap them all up. They're going to be big bad wolf comes along and huffsity puffs and your house falls over.
Yep.
That even if we do build more homes faster, it's still not going to solve the inventory issue for another X number of years. So I would assume that for the next probably 18 to 24 months, we're not going to see more inventory as a result of more houses being built. The only reason we're seeing more inventory now is because we've got less sales that are happening. So as a result, we have more months worth of inventory. If those sales numbers pick back up to what we saw in, maybe not in 2021 or 2022, but even if they were back to, what we saw in 2020, and buyer sentiment picks up because the interest rates have sort of hit a peak, we're going to run into the same issue that we had in the past where the inventory is low. And we're going to sort of get into this micro cycle again, where the prices pump because there's more buyers than there are sellers. Right now, I think there's an even number of buyers and sellers, but the number of transactions being so low, I think, has more to do with reduced buyer sentiment. The buyer sentiment is the lowest that it's been in the last 10 years. So the number of transactions has a lot to do with reduced buyer sentiment. And as that changes, we're going to see a bit of a change. The next couple months, I've said this a couple times, the next couple months, the average price is going to look so much lower than the same period last year because the beginning of the year, the first 6 months of 2022 were crazy. And the beginning of 2023 is not going to be that same crazy. So the general people who do the news are going to say, oh, house prices down by, whatever percent, house prices down by whatever percent. And when you look at 2022 as a whole, you'll see the residential prices were up by 7% and the condo prices were up by 8%. But they've been lower for the last quarter of the year. So 2022, it'll be interesting to see how it all gets spun, how the information gets spun. One thing that we do is we also look at month over month, not just year over year, because they sort of tell two different stories in terms of what the trend is looking like on the ground. A lot of talking.
It's a lot of talking. Yeah, there's a lot to cover. And I think before we get into what's going to happen with the year ahead, maybe we take a little quick break. The year in the past, you guys were all there. So you sort of know what happened anyway. So we'll take a quick break. Here's a message from us about us. And they have some great things to say about us. So we're going to hear from them, and we'll be right back on the Real Collective Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
This episode of the Real Collective Podcast is brought to you by Real Collective. Real Collective brings together best-in-class real estate agents and collective experts in the field to deliver the best possible service to our clients. We govern ourselves with honesty, open-mindedness, and compassion. With diverse skill sets, our agents are able to better serve a wide array of clients, including first-time buyers, first-time sellers, transferees, estate sales, investors, and rural, vacation, and luxury properties. Authenticity and transparency are pillars of our process, which allows us to put our clients at the center of everything we do. Our years of experience and knowledge allow us to deliver prestigious service and optimal results. If you are interested in buying or selling your home, contact us today at realcollective.ca.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of the Real Collective Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on YouTube, and download us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're finding your podcasts listening devices. Now, second half, we're going to go into maybe a little prediction, like just kind of an off the cuff. What's going to happen this year? What do you think is going to happen? how do I buy a house? How do I sell it this year? What do I do? Everything's changed. I don't know what to do.
It's funny at the beginning of every year, people are like, oh yeah, I'm so glad that year is behind us, like, especially for the last like 3-4 years. So glad it's behind us. And then it's like, boom, sideswipe with like another stupid year. So it's like, maybe we could be hopeful, but at the same time, it's like, who knows, right? We don't know. We don't know what's gonna. I don't think anybody really predicted the rates going up so drastically and having such an effect on the real estate market as a whole. So what's going to be the exciting, fun obstacle or thing to overcome? That's the exciting part of life.
Yeah, I think we need to overcome the Bank of Canada. I think everyone needs to get together, and we all need to throw water balloons at the Bank of Canada.
Sorry, do you mean overcome or overthrow?
Overthrow. Sorry, overthrow.
Overthrow the
government. It's so funny, because like the monthly payment stays the same, but the banks end up just making more money while people get the shit end of the stick.
Yeah, man, it's really hard right now for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are, scraping. Cash flow is the name of the game. People are scraping by to just make it. It's tough. It's tough in a lot of ways. I mean, it's tough, financially for a lot of people. I think it's tough mentally for a lot of people for the last couple of years. I mean, we're a social group, right? And we've been told like, hey, don't see anybody. And I think finally people are just like, I don't care. I need to see. Yeah. This is killing me. Literally, there are people dying who shouldn't be dying, right? There's all this stuff that's overwhelmed. It's all doom and gloom. I don't want to get into a diatribe about that. And so at the beginning of the year, there is a lot of hope, right? Reminds me of episode 4 in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I don't know. I feel like you've got, like you said, some people still feel stuck. Like people who are renting right now might have gotten a rental during the peak prices, so they're overpaying for rent right now. How do you get around it? What do? Do you just go get like a 3-bedroom with some other like-minded people and be like, okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're all taking a bedroom and we're going to just save up as much as we can so we can each go buy something later on. Because what else do you do? Like if you're paying $2,500 for a rental, how do you also save on top of that? And it's just a catch-22, right? So that might be what you got to do. Maybe you gotta go get a cheaper rental. Easier said than done. And it's not the easiest thing to do in the world if you have a family, to just up your family out of one rental and into another that's not as advantageous to you. So good news is there's still some home buyer tax credits. There's some incentives there from the government. There's some things that you can do, 5% down. There's a lot more options now. So hopefully that means renters might be able to get out of renting if they've been trying to. Some people are happy renting, and that's okay too. But I think that's what it is. I think, you just got to talk to your mortgage broker and see what to do. That's more on the renting side of things. I think as a buyer for this coming year, I would expect the prices to go up slightly. I feel like at the spring market, we're going to have another spring market because I think we have a lot of sellers seeing what's happening with homes. And they're saying, well, I'm not going to put it on the market now. I'll wait until the busy spring market.
Right.
Which might just mean that you have a whole bunch of listings on the spring market that ends up no buyers for them. So, or everyone just, it's like the paper towel and toilet paper scenario. We're like, oh, I got to get one. Maybe that's what happens. But I think that's what you're going to see. And maybe there's a few bidding wars, but I think if there are for homes, like a townhome or something, it's going to be like choose your own strategy sort of thing, choose your own adventure style for marketing your house. And that could be putting your townhome that's 3 bedrooms with an ensuite up for $450 and seeing what happens a week later. And whether or not that's what you want for your house,
yes,
you have to be determined, right? Like you might have to price it stupid low you might have to if that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, the issue that we saw with that is that when you were pricing it stupid low, as the market shifted, we weren't getting those big bumps. So if you price it stupid low, you might only see, where at the peak of the market you were seeing 100 over asking or 200 over asking, you might only see like 30 over asking. You're saying, oh, this isn't good enough, right? And then that's why people got trapped, because they were applying those strategies as the buyers started to fall off more and more. And we did a podcast episode, whatever it was in the summer or in the late spring, sort of, where have all the buyers gone? Long time. And they all said, you know what, this is the money's too expensive. The deals are gone, and they're waiting. They were waiting to get to the bottom of the market, of the bottom of the pricing market. And again, I really think the prices are recently, the prices have been inversely correlated with the interest rate increases. I think we're expecting one more interest rate increase at the end of this month, quarter point or 0.5 a point, and that's probably it. That's what all of the people who are studying this stuff are saying. And if that's the case, then we're pretty close to the bottom. The thing that's driving prices and will continue to drive prices is buyer sentiment, right? And we hit a trough because buyer sentiment was so low. And what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, the week leading up to Christmas, the week between Christmas and New Year's, and now this week coming out of New Year's, is a lot more buyers who are putting up their hand and say, okay, yeah, I'm ready. I think we're at the bottom, and I want to buy a house now. And so those buyers are driving the market. And if you remember, at the end of the year, I said, hey, if you're a buyer, now is the right time to buy. And that was in December. I'm not saying that now is not the right time to buy if you're a buyer, but the prices, I think, will go up slightly, as we move forward into what's likely going to be a hotter spring market. First-time buyers really drive the market. The lower end pricing allows you to sell your entry-level house and move up to your next house, or allows you to sell your next house and move up to your super big house, or allows you to sell your super big house and downgrade to your retirement house, right? That's the typical trajectory of most people. The other thing that drives pricing is investors, and investors have also been sitting on the fence, just with the rates being higher. People and investors, a lot of flippers lost money this year, last year, right? Where they bought at the peak of the market, just thinking, oh, this is we're going to keep going, right? And I know multiple house flippers who have lost, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars if they have enough different projects on the go. Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, right? Where investors are just sort of left holding the bag. It's been really hard last year for investors. You can't try and time the market. A lot of the work that we do is with investors, so we do get a front row seat to see what's going on. And like I said, a lot of them are just waiting. So those first sales, the entry-level houses that investors would typically buy, weren't selling, and that had a domino effect on the other ones, right?
Yeah. I look at when I have a client who's looking at homes, and you see a lot of the homes that are listed right now were just bought in 2020 or 2021. And we're at the start of 2023. And, even a week ago, you're like, well, Jesus, they bought this a year ago. Like, seems like they're losing money. Like, they didn't. I don't know what changed, as far as maybe offices are telling you got to come back to work, and that changed everything, where they're like, oh no, we're all going to work remotely. Just joking. And then everyone is going to government offices again, where they were told everyone's going to work at home. Yeah. So that's changed geographically where they wanted to be. So maybe we see less people going to rural Ottawa or further out than Canada, Orleans, because they're not able to make that trip. You got stuff like that. The flippers, the renters, all at that price it's making an impact for sure. And there's definitely some money lost there. And then for buyers coming into it this year, who knows what to expect? Maybe it's a bidding war. Maybe it's not. Maybe, you mentioned house prices are probably going to go up, and I agree. Whether or not that's like up over asking price has yet to be seen. I think it's just going to be like right now, a lot of things are going for well under asking price. And I think that gap is going to close. And depending on the home, maybe you get two people that are interested. So you end up with one person like, oh, well, no, I'm not willing to pay asking price for it. And then you end up scooping up a good house for asking price. And maybe that's not so bad if it's the right house for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And more of a balanced market. When I first started, I was in a sort of the end of a buyer's market, transitioning towards a balanced market. And what we found, I'm coming up to a decade of service.
Oh.
And what we found is that if you were the first person offering for a house, you'll probably buy it for about 97% of what's listed for. If there's two people offering for it, you need to pay about list price. Maybe, if it's listed for whatever it is, $599, you're paying $600 for it, right? If there's three or more people offering for it, who knows? Maybe if there's three people, like 1% over, like, it was $599, you'd pay $605, $606, something like that, right? But then when there was more than three, you didn't know, and didn't know meant you might be paying $627 for that house to be able to get it.
Yeah.
Right. And that was like, oh wow, like I'm paying 5% more essentially than the house is listed for. That seems, considering our recent history, still like a great deal if there's four people on a house and you're only buying it for that much over. It'll be interesting to see what the market dynamics are this year. I think a lot of it also has to do with the players, right? When I say players, I mean the real estate agents who are out there. What strategies are the agents going to be suggesting to their clients? Do we list it, above what fair market value is, below what fair market value is? What's the expectations in terms of, all of that sort of thing will play in together. A lot of it has to do with what the needs are of our clients, right? Some clients will want us to sell it quickly. Okay, well then we'll figure out what fair market value is and list it a little bit below. We'll test the market, and that will give us different strategies. The one piece that I want to be clear about is that the rise in prices, I'm not saying whether or not they're going to be higher than list price or lower than list price. I'm saying higher than the average price this year or for the same period last year. So for in January 2023, the prices might actually, I think honestly, for the first half of the year, the prices are going to be lower than they were in 2022. And I think
for sure,
the second half of the year, they're going to be higher. And when you put the whole thing together, they're going to go up by 2 or 3%, right? On average. But the first half of the year, the prices are going to look like 10% less, 10% less, whatever, 14%. Yeah. And people are going to be like, oh my God, look, the prices are so great. And then more and more buyers are going to say, oh, okay, well, geez, if the prices are this is what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the prices to come down. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm going to jump on it. And it's going to create more positive buyer sentiment, which will reflect in likely an increased number of transactions from this year. I think it was 15,000 and something. It was less than 16,000 that we did this year. And the average number of transactions per year is closer to 18. So I think we're going to see more sales this year than we saw last year. And I think the average price is going to go up slightly, but it's going to be this sort of slingshot effect where the average price for the first half of the year is much lower and the second half of the year is higher.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement, especially since prices now, I think, are going to be lower than they were at this time last year because the January 2022, our spring market in 2022 started in December of 2021. It was nuts. That's when it started ramping up. And for the from December through to April, it was crazy. And then it started to taper a bit. So I think you're right. You have January prices what they were and then December prices, and then you take this year. I think what it's going to do is just kind of balance out that line. So it's going to be more, even throughout the whole year. And I think you're right. Like at the end of November, December of 2023, if you look back a year, the prices will just be slightly above what they were in November of December of a couple of months ago.
Yeah. I think the year to date number will, like at the end of 2023, will be up by 2 or 3%.
Maybe. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, because of January to March or January to April of last year, because it was so insanely high, maybe it's less. Maybe it's like 1.5%. Who knows? Depends what the second half does. So I do think you're going to have a little bit more of a balanced year, which I'm all for. I don't know. I'm one of the few realtors who hated the multiple offers scenario where you couldn't disclose what the price was of another offer. I think if you're like even on eBay, you see what someone's bidding on a wall. So like this is a house and you're just like, I guess it's worth this much. I don't know. It was
they came up with I don't know if they implemented it or not yet, a way to allow us to do open bidding. I think that might hit the ground this year. But the seller has to agree to it, and all the buyers need to agree to it as well. And there is a company, a real estate company that does allow for an open auction.
Right.
But it doesn't matter right now. Right?
No.
There aren't any buyers. So, if that changes, it might come back into effect or prominence. But for now, it's kind of like, doesn't matter.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I haven't thought about them for like 3 or 4 months, because as soon as the market changed, people are like, oh, maybe I do need a professional to do this.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, and even all of us professionals, we're going to the toolbox now. We'll talk about it in a different meeting, but the deals that we're putting together now take skill and tact. They take a professional agent to go through and figure out, okay, well, how am I going to make this happen? And I mean, there's a lot of disdain for somebody who's called a salesperson. But really what we're doing is we're helping put something together. We're helping, and troubleshooting and stick handling and doing things that, would be difficult if you've just entered into the business and you don't have any mentorship or training or coaching, because it isn't as easy as putting a sign in the front lawn and praying that someone else will come along and sell it and it'll happen in a week. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you said, I think next week we've got a great story to tell on the most unique, creative, challenging deal that I've ever done. And we work together as a team to make it happen. So I think it's going to open up some eyes as to what maybe more you can expect, what kind of things you can expect with offers and things like that coming in 2023. So we're going to wrap things up now. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and share the channel. Download us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want to see something else, maybe right here or here, wherever I'm positioned on the screen, there'll be the windows up there so you can click one of our listing videos. We did a fun one in December, the Santa one. We've also got some reels, and hopefully that's right here because the reels are pretty funny too. So click on those, and a
lot of people have been reaching out because they had a goal to do something real estate related in 2023. So if you'd like to schedule an appointment, also hit that Calendly link. Don't forget that.
Okay.
We are professional realtors.
Yeah, we're putting that in every episode. All right. So those are down there too. Calendly links, book an appointment with us, and we will talk about what you want to talk about, real estate related or otherwise. So we'll wrap things up. I'm Brendan McKeigan.
I'm Free Therapy Sean Tasse.
All right. Perfect. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you on the next one. And until then, keep it real.
Collective.